Hello everyone and welcome to the Endless Rise VIP webinar series. Of course, today we're going to be going over pricing. Pricing is always a big subject matter. We did have another side webinar on, I do believe it was Monday or so, and some people are asking if the same subject matter. This is the same subject matter. So if you attended that webinar, this one's going to be similar, if not the same, but with different conversation because of course we're live and it is the 22nd, right? 23rd for us. So if everyone can let me know how many of you, there's two different types of pricing really, if you want to do a general categorization on it. You have standardized pricing, where people ask me the question all the time, Paul, what's the best way to mark up the pricing? And I say, well, you do 2 to 3 times what you pay for it. So that's standardizing your pricing markup. And then there's a customized markup where you evaluate the particular client and you mark up accordingly. How many of you, and if you can give me a shout out in the comment section, this is going to help me a lot. How many of you do standardized pricing markup across services or customized pricing markup based on the client? Drum roll. Some people do both. Can't do both. Oh, you could, actually. Okay, I'm getting about 50-50, actually. So there we are on that. All right, this is going to be a good webinar for a lot of people then, because this is a ridiculously important subject matter. And as you're going to learn, pricing for many companies is the difference between being a successful company and not being a successful company. What constitutes a successful company? Profit margin. And again, I'm getting some if any other organizers or panelists on the line for now, if you can mute your mic in the GoToWebinar panel. Sometimes when you mute your mic from your headset, it doesn't quite work. So there we go. So thus on with the slide. I'm getting some people asking questions about how the flooding is going over here. For those of you who are not informed or not aware, of course, I'm Paul Steinmetz, CEO of Endless Rise, and we are all located over here on site in Makati, Manila, Philippines. Over the last week, we made, I do believe it was global news for the flooding that we had. And if you think rain is bad on your area, this last Sunday we had 23 inches of rain in one day. So this is a tropical country. We do get a lot of rain, and for it to rain as much in one day as it normally does in 1 year is crazy. So yeah, it was flooded around our outlying regions. We ran a skeleton shift for 2 days, Monday and Tuesday, and everyone's doing good now. We're back into full production and everything is great. Of course, the office is in the CBD, so we don't have issues with flooding here, but in the outlying regions we do. So yeah, and oddly enough, this happens almost every single August on point. It rains like you've never seen in your life, and it causes this issue and causes us about 2 days on skeleton shift until we come back to full volume. So that's the way that it is. It's more fun in the Philippines, right? So on with the webinar. Pricing based on client's revenue stream. So for those of you who said that you do standardized pricing, this is what you wouldn't be looking into whenever you set pricing. And for those of you who do evaluate the client's particular industry and customize your markup based on the client, you might be doing this sort of analysis on your client. Now, when you decide that what you're going to do is evaluate your pricing based on your particular client, you need to understand the psychology behind why you would do that, because it's not necessarily a shady thing to do, really. When you make more profit, you have more leverage. You have more padding to maybe dip into other streams of marketing than you would be able to if you didn't have more money coming in. And how do you evaluate when you might be able to have a higher markup on a particular client than not? And one of the things that you can do is look at the clients in terms of the value of the traffic that you're bringing to them. And that depends on, of course, what industry do they belong to. Now, if you're going to try to generate traffic for a client that happens to have a brick and mortar shop downtown and they sell dog treats, well, if their amount of revenue that they do is X amount and they have to sell, say, 300 dog treats in one day, and their average profit margin per dog treat happens to be 50 cents. If you're going to charge that client $1,000 a month, how much traffic that converts per transaction do you have to bring to them per month just to break even on their marketing dollars to you? That's 2,000 transactions you would have to bring to them. Is that going to be easy? Is that a piece of cake for you? And that's how they're going to evaluate. It doesn't matter if you're having them, if they're ranking number one for all of the keywords necessarily. If your premise to your client is that they're supposed to make money off of their marketing, and that's the client that you're going to take on, you might want to be a bit careful. You're going to have to boom their traffic and make 2,000 transactions for them to be able to break even on the marketing dollars that you're charging them. Now, let's take, for instance, a different scenario, and you're marketing for someone in the construction industry. And whenever they make a conversion and someone transacts with them, just one, and they land a house build, and if it is a custom home that costs $800,000 to build, and that's how much the client pays, and your customer is going to make $200,000 profit off of one single transaction, how many conversions do you have to bring to that client in the period of 1 year to make their marketing budget to you worth it, given that they're even paying you $5,000 a month? And that's one. That's the difference. And there's a huge ball game, and that's why this webinar is so important for a lot of people that don't understand the difference between customized pricing markup per client versus standardizing your pricing. Now, one of the ways that you walk into this is you want to understand your value walking into the client session, because you want to know roughly not what is their budget in terms of what they say to you, but you want to be able to ask them these particular questions, like how much revenue per sales transaction are they making? How much volume per month do they push and per year? How much profit per sales transaction? If you want to walk straight into a client and ask them what their budget is, you're probably not going to get the answer that you want. As a professional marketing consultant, you should take on the confidence to walk in to a meeting with your client and understand in your own head what their marketing budget should be. If you walk into a multi-million-dollar company and ask them what their budget is, and they turn around to you, and I've seen this happen before, and they say $500 a month, you shot yourself in the foot by asking them what their budget is. If you walk in there and ask them what is their revenue per month based on whatever it is they're wanting you to market, how much volume are they doing behind it, what is their profit margin, then you already know what your traffic would be worth to them if you can fulfill on that, and how much you would need to bring to them. And if you off the top of your head say this company should be investing at least 15% of their profit margin in internet marketing, or 10% even, you can run numbers in your head and say to yourself, that guy actually has $150,000 a year marketing budget, because what kind of a structured business doesn't invest at least 10 to 15% back into their marketing, right? You got to really think about it. And then what you can do is evaluate what is it that you need to fulfill for them to put yourself in a position to where you're in a mutually beneficial partnership with your client, and what do you need to bring to them. I've seen people walk in to clients and undersell them and take on national, if not global clients, and get paid $1,000 a month and pay their outsource provider $300 a month. Is that a good idea? I've also seen people walk into a local service provider and walk out with a budget of $100,000 a year and pay us an appropriate amount behind it. What's the difference? probably the guy that sat in front of them as their marketing consultant. If you're running a call center, I understand why you would standardize your pricing and just say 2.5 times wholesale rate, do a percent markup on everything, buy this, put it out, give the spreadsheet out to the sales reps and dispatch. I understand that. That makes sense because doing customized pricing per client on analysis takes more time. And if you're running a sales team that's large, then standardized pricing is going to be most attractive to you. If you are not running a sales team of more than 5 guys, why would you be doing standardized pricing across the board? Don't do that. It's not necessary. You're shooting yourself in the foot and you're not making nearly as much profit as what you would be doing otherwise. One. Two, even if you do have a sales team and you're standardizing your pricing, what the best thing for you to do is to set what you would consider to be your low value product or your higher volume, lower quality product that you would have that would be underneath a certain amount of money. So if anyone wants to avail of any service that costs on the back end less than, say, $1,000 or so, that maybe you would standardize the pricing on that because it's high volume orders. But anything above that should be a premium product, and you should have premium sales guys on it, and you should train them on setting profit margins in terms of setting your retail rate on the fly based on the client, based on their needs. And you can do that through logic training. And again, this sort of thing is the difference between companies that skim so low on profit margin that they don't have enough to recover if they make a mistake in their business or times turn down. So keep that in mind. And let me roll back on that. Maybe we have some questions on that. Does anyone have any further questions and that I can answer real quick before we move on to the next section on my pricing consulting to you guys? Mark says, what if a customer asks for a basic SEO package, but every keyword comes back from ER as advanced or over the top? Again, that's not quite in line with pricing, but if so, get a hold of your consultant. That's actually a different subject matter that we could do. Janine says, can you repeat that slowly? What do we ask rather than what is your marketing budget? What you ask is, how much volume do they do? What do they charge for it, which is what you should know, and what is their profit margin? Based off of that, take their profit margin on their total volume monthly, right? And take at least 15% of it and say that you should know that they should at least be putting this amount towards their marketing. That way, if your client does come back to you and with a question afterwards of what is your estimated budget in your head towards this, do you have a company budget? And they come back to you and they say, well, I want to pay $500 a month. And you do your numbers on their profit margins per month, and it comes back, and you know that they should be spending at least $1,500 to $2,000, you should educate them on what is the business industry standard on reinvesting back into your company to get it to grow. You don't invest in your marketing when times are hard. The best time, well, yes, you do, but the best time to invest in your marketing are when times are good, to make sure that the bad times don't come around and bite you in the butt. Mike's saying that 15% is all marketing, though. Yeah, I mean, and that part you can go and read online about. What is the industry average on what people should be putting back into their company from a marketing side? And it depends on per industry, per demand, and whatnot. And you can go in and find your materials on that. Sean says, so what you're saying is identify the budget through margin rates, volume and sale size, and then based on the amount, develop a scope that accomplishes their goals. Absolutely. You know, some people go out there and they mark up our product by 2 times. I had a guy call in one time and said I sat down in front of a law firm and I asked him what was his budget, and he said, well, what I'm currently paying right now is $10,000 a month. And he says, what can you do for me for lower than that? He came in and sold something to the equivalent of like our SEO 15 advanced plan, and you guys know the rates on that. And he charged his client $8,000 a month, and he retained that client for a year and a half. That's a lot of money. If he would have went in there with a standard markup, he would never have had that opportunity, you know? Tom saying surgeons would be at least $5,000 per month. They could be. And again, I have seen over and over again, and you guys know who we are in the industry. I have seen 2 companies pitch the same profile of a client, and one of them's making a couple $1,000s a month, and the other guy's making a couple $100s a month. Same product. Decoy pricing, moving on. Now, this is we're getting out of the general subject matter of pricing in terms of standardized versus looking at the client. Now we're getting into more um, uh, pricing strategies, but these are important, and these are some things that you'll want to look into because the big corporations in the world take these very, very seriously. So in terms of decoy pricing, this is an example. Okay, an economist was offering three types of subscriptions, and this is not really based on our industry. This is a real example. A web subscription at $59, a print subscription at $125, and a web plus print subscription at $125. Does anyone see the elephant in the room here? So this is a real study. It was done by MIT. And this was put here purposely to show you how blatantly powerful decoy pricing is. Web is at $59. Print is at $125. Print and web is at $125. No one would ever pick up the print for $125 when you get the print plus web at the same price for $125. So is everyone following me here? This is the exact same thing, right? So, of course, when the study runs, your expectations are that no one's going to grab the print because the print plus web is at $125. Okay, we're on the same page. Moving on. Dan Ariely was curious about this kind of pricing plan, so he conducted a study offering these three plans to 100 MIT students. It's interesting to notice that 84% of the students took the print plus web subscription, and the remaining students took the web subscription, and no one took the print only subscription. So 84% of the students took the print plus web. That was the largest plan, right? Dan deleted the print only subscription, the one that no one took. Keep in mind, clearly, that was the decoy, and repeated the experiment with 100 MIT students. This time, the majority of the students took the web only subscription at 68%. The middle option was a decoy. It was a less attractive version of the last option, print plus web, with the result of making people think the last option was a great deal. When you add a less attractive version of one of your options, people will compare the two, and of course, if the two options have similar prices, people will consider the best option as a good deal. Now, basic exercise, but the lesson to be learned is this. If you want to look at your own services that you have and take maybe your top three services, and one of them literally costs more than twice what the other one does, and do your annual revenue projections based on selling your top priced service at 84% versus selling your top price service of the three that you selected at 68%. I'm sorry, at actually that would be at, do the math here, at what is that, 32%, right? The difference between the two is absolutely massive, and that is what I'm talking about whenever I'm saying pricing strategies can make or break a company. Decoy pricing is that attractive to people, and big companies do it, and they do it very successfully. So pretty much what you're doing is you're showing the value of one service versus another, and you're directing your clients to go into one direction or another. This doesn't have to be put on your website. This can be put in something as easy as a promotion you roll out in front of a client, or something that you even verbally put in front of a client during your sales session, or something that you put in a PowerPoint or a PDF as part of the options on the direction that a client could go towards, right? Now, of course, you wouldn't put it like this. If you were going to do it, you would put option A at, say, $50, option B at, say, $125, and of course option C would not be the same as option B because it would just be insulting to the client if you did that. It's a no-brainer. They'd choose option C, but option C would be slightly larger than option B. That's the concept, right? And people do that all of the time. But would you like the small order at this amount, or the medium order at this amount, or for a little bit more, the large order at this amount? And whenever you look at the pricing discrepancies for what you get, you always go for the larger one, which is why I personally always upsize my fries. It's just when you look at the ratio of what you're getting, the value is better, and it always steers you in that direction. I think a lot of people forget about basic pricing principles whenever it comes to web design and online marketing, because typical pricing principles are so closely related to tangible products. But services are no different. It's no different. The Magic 9, moving on. The University of Chicago and MIT tested 3 pricing for women's clothing. They published 3 catalogs and 3 different catalogs and dispatched them. In one catalog, they had a dress published for $34. In another catalog sent out to the same quantity of people, they published the same dress at $39. And in another catalog sent out to the same equivalent amount of people, they priced a dress at $44. Same dress, 3 different prices. Now, see, now we're getting a little bit more nitty-gritty on finer details on pricing, but this is still important to keep in mind. In many studies, it has been shown that the pricing ending in 9 can increase sales. One of these experiments conducted by University of Chicago and MIT was conducted by the University of Chicago and MIT. 3 versions of the catalog were made. Each catalog included a different price for the same women's clothing. The result was really interesting. More items were sold at the price of $39 than at the other 2. Even though one of the prices was cheaper, it still sold more at $39. Now, a lot of you are looking at this and saying, oh, that's $5, or it's a $5 discrepancy. But what if it's a difference between charging $340 for something versus $399? And wouldn't you be more attractive to price your product at that if you knew that actually by study it would sell more? Would you like to make an additional $400 just because you were smart enough to put 9s behind it? What if it was $3,400 versus $3,999? How about that? Now this sounds cheesy to me. It really does, but it's real. It really is. These are real studies. This is really how it is. And I personally, whenever I think about this, I buy things with a 9 behind it versus not. And you know why? As some researchers explain, this is by the fact that pricing ending in 9 has been part of discounted prices for a long time. So they have been included in the subconscious by people who currently see pricing ending in 9 as good deals at an irrational level. And that's just the truth. I've got 999 so far ingrained into me. It's the 99.99 that it is so far into my brain that if I ever see anything ending in a 99, I'm like, wow, that must be a good price on it. And you know why? Is because you think that they came so far down on their pricing that they're actually at, the penny level of coming 1 penny below the top dollar on it. So sounds cheesy. Studies still reveal that this still is very successful as practice. So keep it in mind. People are saying 7 is becoming the new 9. Probably depends on the studies that you're researching. But I actually, in the last webinar, people were saying that as well. Size matters. $49 is a better value than $49. Science pricing of infographics. For those of you who do publish pricing, right? What you would want to do is make sure that when you do publish your pricing that you don't make it really big. Marketing professors at Clark University and the University of Connecticut found that consumers perceive sales prices to be a better value when the price is written in a small font rather than a large, bold typeface font. The explanation is that in our minds, physical magnitude is related to numerical magnitude. It's the exact contrary of what many marketers do. They write discounted prices with a bigger typeface than the original, while they should do the opposite. Little things, and we are getting into some more of the little nitty-gritty, and we'll come back into the bigger things. But really, these small details can impact you in the end, especially for those of you who are publishing pricing on your site. If you do, and you publish it real big and bright on your site, and that might not be the best thing. Maybe that doesn't sell as well as what you think it does. People have some really great comments coming back. Does the color matter, red versus black? I didn't study that. It might. I don't know if I'd get that nitty-gritty, but it might not be a bad idea. People saying used cars prices are in large font. Well, that makes sense because people can't see them driving by if they're in small font. Okay, so size matters and getting on anchoring. This one's really interesting. What if I told you that the value of your product could be perceived and judged on its quality based solely on how much you're asking? That's real. So what if you can make more money just because you charged more? Is it really that simple? Is that the way that it works? It depends. If you walk into someone's office that actually has a $200,000 a year marketing budget and you put down in front of them the cost of your services at a total annual value of $20,000, Do you think they want to talk to you, or do you think they want you to open that door and tell you to walk right back out? If I'm analyzing people that I'm looking to hire, honestly, whenever I'm going through resumes, if I'm looking for someone in a really high-end position, I only look at resumes that have an asking value on it that's above a certain amount. And this is interesting to think about, and this is one of the reasons why you want to think twice before you just go publishing your prices out there, which I don't think is the best idea unless you're running a shopping cart. Researchers invited real estate experts and undergraduate students to appraise a home for sale. The seller listed his house at different prices, and as a result, both students and experts made different evaluations. And I'll come back to this outline after I read through this. William Poundstone, in his book Priceless, The Myth of Fair Value, reported an experiment in which researchers invited real estate experts and undergraduate students to appraise a home for sale. Both students and real estate experts were divided into 4 groups. Each group received a different listed price for the house. Both students and real estate experts made different evaluations based on the listed price. The higher was the listed price, the higher they appraised the house. The first group listed at 119.9, of course, because you should put 9s in it, although people are saying 7's the new 9. 120,000, 130,000, 140,000, 150,000 rounding off. On an isolated study on this, the experts appraised it differently, even though it was the same house. The lower you asked for the house, the less it was appraised for. And sure, there's not a large gap here. I mean, the listing width on this is from 120 to 150,000, which is a 30,000 width in between. The appraisal on it only had a width in between of, let's see, it's 21, about 16,000, right? So the width didn't match identically, but you will notice that by asking more, the perceived value is more. And that goes especially well for people that do not understand 100% what it is that they are buying. If I'm going to go out there, and I've had problems in the past with my DVD player. It's broken down on me. The damn thing's broke twice, and I bought 2 different ones, and I'm sick of it. And I go back into the store, and I see 5 different DVD players for sale. And I look at them and I say, I'm tired of this. I've been getting low quality. But I don't know DVD players. I don't know how the mechanisms inside interact. I don't understand who the manufacturers are or what all this jibber jabber is. What do? I walk right in there and I pick up the most expensive one that I can find because I assume that the quality behind it is superior to all the other ones just because it's the most expensive. Don't think twice about pricing your product high just to get a higher appraisal on what its value is perceived as through your client's eye. That's something you really need to take into consideration. When I hear people selling our marketing product and making a couple $100 on markup, unless it's something that they're selling for $150, but still, even then, I cringe because it's worth a lot more than that. Have the confidence to stand behind it. But if you don't understand the value that you're bringing to your client because you don't understand their volume expectation on their profit margin on what the traffic is worth to them, then I understand that. But keep in mind, don't hesitate to throw a big number out there. Don't. And some people, if they are a big client, if you are talking to a big client and you don't throw a big number out there, they will not respect you. You want to go big, you need big pricing. You are in the business of making people money. As a marketing consultant, that's what you're supposed to do. It's not always about how much it costs as much as it is what is the value that it's going to bring back to them. Bracketing. How many of you have studied bracketing before? Not a lot. Some people are saying maybe. Okay, bracketing. Now, this study is interesting, and I think I'm going to read through this. I'll go through the graphic and then I'll read through the study. Okay, it's going to be a bit redundant. So for right now, just pay attention to the dollar amounts and the size of the beer and if it's premium or not. And for those of you who are non-beer drinkers, maybe this is apple cider. You have a smaller beer versus a larger beer versus the same size of a larger beer that's considered premium on it. Okay? Now, in this study, the smaller beer was offered as the bargain beer at $1.60. The next size up was offered at $1.80 as the upgraded beer. And then there was the premium beer, which is a higher quality but the same size at $2.50. In this study, based on this layout, and you're looking at quality versus size, whether it's beer or not, this study is consistent. The middle beer here, the larger value in the middle, the middle rate, was sold at 80%. The premium beer was sold at 20%, and no one bought the lower beer. Now, some people could look at this not just as bracketing, but also as decoy pricing. The smaller beer, and if this was a study to be done on decoy pricing, of course, the smaller beer would be a decoy, prompting people to go and buy this one, and they're wanting to sell more of it because by volume and production and whatnot on that rate, that's what they're trying to do for whatever reason. Okay? Now, that's not where the lesson comes in at. The lesson comes in at the bottom study. So what was done in the bottom study is that the medium beer was replaced at the bottom, the premium beer was put in the middle, and then they offered a super premium beer at the top. So it's larger and it's bigger. So not only is it a premium, it's a super premium, and it's larger, and it's significantly more expensive. Okay? And this study, what's interesting is that versus the top, this beer at $2.50 sold at 20%, versus at the bottom, at the same price for the same beer, it was sold at 85%. Think about that. If by how you model your pricing and your presentation on it, and this is called bracketing, you could go from selling your higher priced, more expensive product, your premium product, and take it from a 20%, and because now you're perceiving the value is that it's not the most expensive, now it's the middle one at the greater value, and you're selling at 85%. How much money, more money over a year would you make if instead of selling 80% of your beer at $1.80 versus 85% of your beer at $2.50? Does that change the ground? Well, that change just might be the difference between a company being in business and not being in business. And this is real, everyone. And these studies are in books, and they're replicated over and over and over again. And for those of you that have picked up books and studied pricing before, you'll know this. What's to be learned from this? When you offer 3 options, most of the people will take the middle one. And the certain people will take the most expensive option no matter what. No matter what. And those are the people that you want to make sure that you're not stepping in with standardized pricing and you throw a big number down on the table so that they respect you, right? And we could read through this, but pretty much I said everything that was already on here. So keep in mind, how you organize what you offer is tremendously important because you are retail facing. You're direct to clients. We don't do decoy pricing and bracketing to you guys. We're the back end vendor. We're supposed to have a consistent services that you select from as if it's on, the equivalent of an Excel sheet. It's supposed to be very, very straightforward. But between you and your client, you should be taking into consideration decoy pricing and bracketing. When people say sales makes companies, now you're starting to understand a little bit more on why. Okay, discounted pay upfront pricing plans. To me, we've gone over pricing discussions so far that are, standard pricing discussions that any company could be having. One of the things that is unique in terms of us to you and you to your client, that the particular services that you offer to them in terms of marketing, whether it's from PPC to SEO to social media to online reputation management, those are ongoing monthly services. And you're in the ball game to try to keep the client on as long as humanly possible, right? As long as it's benefiting the client, you want them to continue paying for it. None of them expire at the end of 6 months and you say you're done. So, although there could be milestones set, of course. Discounted pay upfront pricing plans. The majority of people that work with us charge their clients on a monthly basis because we charge you on a monthly basis. So your default psychology is that you should charge your client on a monthly basis and match your billing cycles to your client based on what we bill you. But The schedule on when and how you bill your client, as long as we're paid to operate, really does not need to depend on us. And we encourage people to lock their clients into larger contracts. And if it's not a commitment contract, why are you charging them up front? If you're going to walk into a client and you're going to ask them, you're going to consult with them on marketing, and they say, okay, how long does this take? And let's say, for example, that you're selling them SEO. Oh, I've got Veldex saying no audio. Let me do a sound check real quick. Can people hear me okay? People are saying good. I hear you. Maybe it was just a lull. All right. Thanks, Trevor. Now, if you're going to sit down and sell a client, for instance, SEO, and they're going to look back at you and they're going to say, well, how long should I be doing this for? And they don't want to hear that you're going to be doing it for a lifetime. They want to hear what is the initial investment that I should have inside of my head. Kind of like, if we're going to go to hire someone, I'm going to tell someone in their head how long they should expect to be here to consider it to be a career. I'm not going to say you should be chained here for life. Similarly, whenever you're going to buy a car, how long are you going to hold on to it for? How long should I expect this thing to, in my head, how long should I be anticipating to invest in just to give this a full opportunity to perform for me? Well, if I were you, your consulting to the client should be that they should step in with the mindset of an initial investment of 1 year. If you're going to step in and run SEO, you shouldn't be bailing in 3 months. And if you don't want your client to bail in 3 months, why would you charge them month to month if you're telling them to make at least a year-long commitment, right? So if you're going to tell a client that in their head they should be running this campaign for no less than 1 year, why are you going to bill them month to month? And what I'm trying to get everyone to do for the good of your own company, we get paid. When you get paid, we get paid. So this isn't for us over here at Endless Rise, everyone. This is for you. If you're going to go out there and you want to find serious clients, why wouldn't you charge them every 6 months? I talked to resellers and they got 911 saying, hey, man, can I get the work report early? The client's dependent on whether they're going to pay me this month, keyword, this month, based on my monthly meetings with them. You guys get held hostage every single month by the clients that are really cheap nail biting at you because you're charging them every single month. If you give a client the opportunity off the get-go to charge you every single month, they're going to take the option to pay you every single month, and given the opportunity to hold you hostage on your services to them, they just might do that on a monthly basis. But you're not in the ball game of offering monthly services. You're in the ball game of offering annual services. And asking for a year down up front is too much. But asking for 6 months down is not something that is to be discredited at all. And I said this on the last webinar that I did. Currently, we're looking into standardizing our email accounts in the company and going for Google email, the paid business apps email, right? So this is an example of how Google does it to incentivize people to pay upfront more. So what they're telling me and what they say on their website, and they say to the whole world, is per user on a business email account, they'll charge you $5 a month, or they'll charge you per user $50 a year. You take your choice. Why do they do that? Why do they offer you a discount instead of paying monthly to pay annually? Does anyone have any idea why they would do that? Why would they charge me less if I paid up front for a year versus paying monthly? Why would they, at the end of the year, they make less money? Why would they charge less? Why? Because I could cancel at any time monthly. And their studies show that if I pay annually, that they know that I'm retained for a year. So let's do the math on this. I need 320 people to have emails. We have 320 employees. So I could do 320 employees month to month times $5 a month. And over 1 year, I would be paying $19,200 for emails throughout the year if I paid monthly. Or I could pay annually at $50 a user, $50 times 320 users, and I would paying $16,000. I'm going to be saving over $3,000. If in my head I am willing to make a commitment for 1 year to give this a shot, am I willing to pay 1 year up front to save $3,000? The answer is yes, I will. But if they didn't give me that discount, I wouldn't. And for all it matters to Google, their standard rate might be $16,000, but they made the ongoing monthly rate higher to force people to pay what they wanted on annual payments. Is that sinking into everyone? Does that make sense? It's so simple. People think about it as, oh man, you know what? I try to get my client to sign a 6-month contract. I try to get my client a 12-month contract, and they wouldn't sign it. Why are you asking them to sign a contract on a commitment of 6 or 12 months? Why do you approach it that way? Isn't it a lot easier to ask someone if they want to save money? Let's try this. Put yourself in front of me as a client. Can I get you to sign on with a 12-month contract? So I'll lock you in for 12 months, and then we'll renew monthly or renew annually after that. So you'll say back to me, so it's a 12-month commitment. I'd say it's a 12-month commitment. Don't do that. Instead, if you're sitting in front of me and I said this to you, and I said, I tell you what, we've got a promotion going on what we can do is we can charge you month per month at this rate, or you could save 20% by paying in biannual payments. Now you're giving the option to save money. You're not putting a 12-month contract in front of them or a 6-month contract. You're asking them if they want to save money. Of course, if they're going to pay for 6 months up front and you have a no refund policy, it's the same thing as having them assigned on a 6-month commitment. Does that make sense to everyone? 6 months down on payments with a no refund policy is the same thing as signing a client to a 6-month commitment paying month to month. Right? So why don't you go out there and get that by offering the client a discount instead of asking them to sign on a commitment? What's going to be your success rate on that? It's wild, and I'm excited to be able to do this webinar for people, and I hope that everyone's listening very closely, because there's no excuse for everyone out there to be saying my client's holding me hostage on monthly payments. If you can't collect 6-month upfront payments, it's because you're not incentivizing them to do so. I wouldn't be paying a year upfront for Google if I didn't have a reason to do so. Why would I do that? I'd pay them monthly. Let's give this an example. What you would do is, if you have your regular retail rate that you want to charge the client, put that at what you would charge them if they paid you biannually. Otherwise, mark it up by an additional 25% if they're going to pay you month to month, and you're going to struggle with having to invoice them month to month and meet with them monthly to be held hostage. Okay? Don't drop your rates if they're going to pay you biannually. Increase your rate if they won't. Take the control, take the reins, and use your confidence and your logic in this. Give you an example. Regular retail price that you're charging to a client would be, say, $799, or if you guys wanted $777, right? Times that by 6 months on an upfront payment from a client is $4,794. Now you could go back to your client if you even dropped it down by 10% and say, or you could pay me $4,314, say $500. We could get this done so I don't have to invoice you monthly and you don't have to struggle with monthly invoices. How about that? If that's not good enough and you don't have success with that, then increase your rate for ongoing, if they're going to pay month to month, and increase it by 20% or 30%. Then instead of offering them maybe $500 off, offer them $1,000 off. Do you make less money? No, but do you make more money if they choose to pay month per month? Yes. Take control of your pricing, and it will make a radical impact on your company. I want to see people pulling 6-month upfront payments at a time and give some stability in revenue projections to your company. Stability. Month to month is difficult. We're a volume shop. We really are. We have stabilities in our numbers. You don't. You have month-to-month payments coming in. How stable are you on your revenue projections? Okay, now you got 6-month blocks of payments coming in. How stable are you on your revenue projections? If your month-to-month payments, are you preparing for a presentation monthly, hoping that you keep your clients? You could still have short check-in meetings monthly, but if you hold 6-month payments in, you could prepare a big presentation every 6 months, and whenever you invoice them on the 6-month period, are you going to invoice them monthly, or are you going to invoice them again for another 6-month term? Exactly. Another 6-month term. Okay. How does the customer benefit? They get the discount and they don't have to struggle with monthly invoices. Nice. Who wants to pay a monthly invoice? That's annoying. Reseller benefits. You don't have to haggle over receiving payments on a month-to-month basis, and you have stability in your revenue projections. This is so vitally important. One of the luxuries of being a company that receives ongoing monthly payments is not having to handle invoicing on a monthly basis, everyone. That's one of your luxuries that you have a right to. That's one of that we don't. That's not how we operate. We typically do month to month because we need to be able to give you that option in case a client bails on you, or if you want that stability on the back end and not having to lock in, right? So we have a September incentive. I want to motivate everyone to go out there and put the time into your pricing presentation and figuring out what you're going to do, and go out there and collect 6-month upfront payments. If you do it once on one client and you do it successfully, you will continue to do it for the remainder of the time that you are in this industry. You need an icebreaker. So we're going to give you, and this is for the month of September, not August, and we're only running this in September, and it's because we're doing the webinar now. So next month, if you go out there and you structure your pricing like I'm asking you to, as a company standard, if you get one client through the door with us that pays, or multiple even, 6 months upfront worth over $5,000 to us, which would be how much on a ongoing monthly? Let me pull up the calculator here. See if I can do this. Oh boy, where'd my calculator go to? There we are. So what's 5,000 divided by 6? So it would have to be a service that's pretty hefty at $833 our cost. But if you did have a service that you were selling over that amount, we're going to give you a free reseller website worth $800 if you make a 6-month upfront payment on it. Or you can choose a free reseller content subscription. If you don't know our reseller services, you can go into the dashboard and you can see the services. Oh, and that includes a review booster package for you over the period of 6 months, which is worth $900. And you would choose this option if you were going to do this on multiple clients because you don't want multiple orders of the free website or reseller content subscription. Or you could choose a 10% discount on everything, which is worth over $500. If you have smaller clients, we're still going to give you incentive on if you pay 6 months in advance of between $2,500 and $5,000, which is as low as a ongoing monthly service, our cost of around $400 and something. Receive one of the below gifts from us as well. You could receive a free reseller content subscription, marketing plan, and review booster for 3 months, which is worth $450, or a 10% discount on services paid for worth over $300. This is to motivate you to go out there in the month of September, only in the month of September, and get out there and restructure your pricing and collect upfront payments. You should be doing that. It's much, much better for your company. Icebreaker incentive. So this stays in place, and really this plan is in front of you if you land more than one client in the month of September and pay upfront, right? Because you want that 10% discount on things. But we have an icebreaker challenge. For your icebreaker, and this only applies to the very first client in September that you pay us up front for, which yes, there are many agencies that bring us as many as 30 to 50 clients a month. So, but for those of you who out there that are motivated by bringing in your icebreaker, for the very first one that you pay up front on 6 months, it's the same terms, only there's an and instead of an or. So on your first one, and only on your very first client in the month of September that you pay the 6 months up front, that's either over 5,000 or over 2,500, we'll give you a free reseller website or the reseller content subscription and review booster, either one worth $800 or $900, and the 10% discount on the services paid, which depending on how they're combined could be worth as much as $1,400. Guys, that's a big motivation for you to get out there and get upfront payments, because I'm serious about motivating you to do that. Our profit margins are not going to be very high on your very first client, which is why we can only offer this on your first client you do this on. If you brought in several, it literally wouldn't be worth us on a profit margin standpoint. If you pay 6 months in advance on a client that's between $2,500 and $5,000, then you would get the free reseller content subscription marketing plan and review booster and the 10% discount, which is pushing $750 value off of as little as a $2,500 payment. You do those percentages. You can see the value in that, so that people can see. So that people can see the artists. Oh, artist is saying we pay $800 for the reseller site, and the value of that site is actually $3,000. Yeah, that's definitely correct. In my opinion, much worth more than $3,000. It's the reseller website is costs you $800, but I said it was worth $3,000, but that's if we actually built it for you on wholesale rates. If you went out to another retail vendor, you'd be paying more like $12,000-15,000 for it. So the details to this promotion, I'm going to load into the dashboard today. I think I said that last time, but I'm going to load into the dashboard today. So after the webinar, give me an hour or two. When you log into your dashboard, you have your splash message right here. I'm going to load in this volume bulk upfront payment incentive to you on the dashboard so that when you log in, you can view it. And I'll also follow up with an email blast out. Okay, so just remember, if you're looking for this, give me a couple hours after the webinar. I'll load it in, and you'll be able to take a look at it. All right. And I'll check out a couple of questions here.
Hi guys.
David says, does the discount continue the next 6 months? Yep. The discount can continue up to 1 year if you choose the discount and it's during the month of September. If it's not, it's not ballgame.
Everybody knows the Lexus car brand, right? Well, when it first came out, it didn't sell. So some guy in marketing had a great idea.
Is this going to be posted online? Yeah, this is going to be posted online in the dashboard. And after it's rendered, I'm sure I'll put it on the splash message as well.
4 times, re-released it, sold like hotcakes.
All right. Trevor, are you on the line there? And then I also have, if he's still around, after Trevor, I'll be pulling on Rusty to talk about a unique pricing spreadsheet that he has. Trevor, you can say hello to everyone if everyone knows Trevor. Hi, Trevor. Trevor, last time we were talking about pricing, we were downstairs, and you were telling me a great story about, I think it was Lexus. Can you tell everyone that story? I thought that was a great story. Yeah, branding, and charging too low for a product perceives the value to be at subpar than what it is, and setting the pricing up by 4 times the amount made it, that's rough quote on it, made it a successful product. Because sometimes perceived value in a product is everything based on how much money you're offering for it. So keep that in mind. If you're going to walk into a client and that client has a lot of money, don't walk in there and offer them a $300 marketing service. Just don't do that. Go in there and, if anything, haggle with them and tell them why they need to release more marketing money and why they might be wasting their time if they don't get a larger marketing budget. Okay? So Ben has a comment saying that Mercedes first came to the U.S. thinking to compete with Chevrolet and Ford. They took off once they changed their strategy. Yeah. Charging probably twice as much for cars than what they otherwise would. I'm sure they're charging less now. But
floating around like you have.
Rusty, are you on the line? Maybe I can bring you on now. If everyone remembers, Rusty was on a long time ago, and it was before we had our new services release, and Rusty put together a pricing calculator unique to our services that was great, because for you to create that calculator on your own would take a lot of money, and Rusty has returned to the webinar series to show you his newly updated pricing sheet, which I think this is pretty cool. And it's one of the cool things about being within our network as a reseller is that there's other resellers out there that create things for you and bring them in and offer them. So Rusty, how have you been?
Okay.
Well, I like my canoeing,
It's honestly
loud and clear. Can everyone hear Rusty okay? If you can give a shout out?
You've got to give me at least 10 minutes notice. Yeah.
Great. Rusty, do you have your
Hey, well,
Are you
actually,
able to
I do have
are you able to get that
actually
pricing over to
not
me
an
so I can
announcement,
open
but
it? I
a
don't know if that is
request.
there that functionality in
When we
GoToWebinar
first
that I
showed
can walk
this
through? Maybe not. Do you have a link
a
to it?
few
Is it
months
online in a
ago,
Google Doc I can see, or do I
and
need to hand the
people
screen
had
over to you?
purchased it, I guarantee this, like I guarantee now, that anytime you guys would update any of your services or anything
I gotcha.
and things of that nature, that I would automatically change it
Okay,
and
let me
send them
open up
out
my
a
Skype window and go
file.
ahead and Skype it through to me.
Unfortunately, some of the
And
people that purchased it,
in
I
the
tried to
meantime,
send that
maybe
to
Trevor
them,
has a clean
and
joke
the emails that I have is
he
the
can
PayPal,
share with
so they all
everyone.
bounced on me.
Clean
So if there's
joke.
anybody on this webinar that did get it last time, just get a hold of me.
Come on, Rusty.
You know,
someone's
got
got
my
to
emails
have
from all the
some sort
correspondence
of
that I
dead air
had,
filler.
and I'll check to make sure that you're on my list, and then we will. I'll send you out the newest list as Paul's downloading it. But once Paul gets it up there, one of the things I'm going to say that is really neat, that goes with exactly what you've been saying, Paul, especially with that discount up front scenario. There's a feature in there that you can play with the gross profit margin and figure out what you wanted to sell without a discount, or the month-to-month basis, and then also put it in there and play with a discount if they want to pay you for 6 months, and you can take a look at what your gross profit difference is going to be right as you do it. Yeah, I see it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm about 7 seconds from having this thing open. When you go to do all your pricing, everyone, and document it and look at your
Yeah.
numbers and profit
Paul,
margins and everything, you have to organize everything on a spreadsheet, right?
throw some
You
prices
need to have
into
this
the
organized.
outsourcing
And in
cost
order to
column
do
sheet.
that, this is going to take you some time to put together. So keep in mind, this is something that you all have to do, whether you use this sheet
Put it
or
in
your
column
own
G.
sheet. But the nice
You
thing
got
about
that?
this is
Put it in column
it's
G.
already put
In column
together.
G, outsourcing
And what
cost.
this has in
No,
it,
not there.
and this is the sheet that Rusty has put together, but the thing is, this thing is loaded with all the formulas that you need. It has all of the services on the left-hand side loaded into it, right? So you see all of this. This is what we have. This is the Google Plus, small, large, Facebook,
Put it in
LinkedIn,
put your prices
Blogger,
in.
Online Reputation Mint,
Yeah,
PPC.
put
He even
your
has our
your
remarketing
costs into the
services in there, which
outsourcing
is
costs right
our
there.
newest
There you go.
release. He has all of these in here, right? And what you're able to do is go into here. Yeah. Right. So you go in here and you insert your prices, which I know it takes a little bit of data entry, but keep in mind, at least you don't need to make your own sheet. Oops.
Well, if
Okay, so let's just say that you're going to come into the sheet,
say that
and you
you're
had
going through PayPal. Okay,
let's go into an
and
SEO
you're
one.
paying their 2.9% on there. You can
Let's
put
say
in
that it was the
internal
SEO
costs,
basic,
so,
and there's
or admin
first
costs,
month
whatever
versus.
that would be, anything
Is
that
it
you want.
broken between
let's
first
just
month
leave
and
that
ongoing
blank. Just
monthly?
go up to the gross margin in column I2.
Okay.
Up there in the green top.
So let's say.
There you go.
Right.
And just put in a
Go on
percentage
demo
up there.
Whopping $700.
No. Take out the
700.
Take out the 700.
Show you how the prices show up inside of here. So if you put in the outsourcing cost and the total cost pops up, and you have your one-time price cost, right?
Just put a.
So from here, Rusty, I would go into internal costs. Is that right, Rusty? Which is retail cost.
Undo. So you take out those values. Now hit undo one more time. Okay, now put the $700 there in your outsourcing cost. Okay, now go up to the green button there where it says gross margin percentage 0. Just put a percentage in there.
Right.
Let's just say 50%. Yep.
Oh, okay. And then
And hit enter. And then that calculates all of your different prices. And if you
go up here.
scroll over, you can see the profit with discount, profit with that. So now if you're looking at your discount upfront price, let's just say that that's your discount upfront price, and you want to discount it 10% for your 6 months payment. If you put 10% discount in the discount column there, okay, there you go.
Okay.
Hit enter. Okay. So then if you scroll over, you can see here that if you scroll down to bottom there to the right, so I have a column hidden. So your scroll button at the very bottom there, yeah.
Here?
So then you can see, yeah, go to the right. Or I'm sorry, go to the left. There
Okay.
you go to the left more. But anyway, what you're looking at is you're seeing your profit with $700 with no discount. You're seeing your gross profit is $560. Okay. Your one-time price is your quoted price would be $1,400, but with your 6 months up front, you're charging them $1,260. So if you're all populated in there, with the outsourcing
so
cost,
do 10% discount.
Your ERI cost in there. It's
Okay.
very simple to do, and then that would automatically all populate that. So then let's just say you're just doing the SEO services 3, but you want to compare the
very
6
bottom?
and the 9, and you're not selling any web services or anything.
Go to the
you
right.
Just grab your rows there at the very right-hand thing, and then you basically hide those rows, and you're only dealing with what you're selling to the client all at the same time. And it really saves on things with, if you want to change your gross profit to 48%, whatever it is. And like if you go down to, the no, unfortunately, it's global to everything. Yeah, it's to do that because you have so many product offerings in
Okay.
Yeah, well, see that you're absolutely right. But because of the number of offerings you have, it's really hard to write the formula for every single line item. So then what you do in that particular case, okay, is that in the column H.
But can you do this?
Okay.
Is this percent?
Now you want to sit there and say
global
let's
to everything,
go up
or
to
can you individualize
WordPress,
it to each
responsive
one?
40 custom and put a price in the outsourcing cost.
Okay.
Column G.
So this is really built for
this. Yeah, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, this is really built to the standardizing of it, right? Which really, I mean, it could be used as a tool at the same time. You could come into here if you wanted it. It doesn't have to be just for standardizing. You could come in and say, hey, on this client, I decided to do a 200%
a little bit more
on him, on everything, and then take a look at what that would look like.
So go ahead and just put in your internal cost. Okay, I want to add $25 to that. You see what I'm talking about? So yeah, right there. Okay, so if you add $25, okay, to that, now you're running on the same gross profit margin, but you're adding another thing. And so if anybody gets this, you have to understand the gross profit margin is run on pure gross profit. And a lot of people don't understand what pure gross profit is. That's not a markup from cost.
Right, so it applies to it as well. Now, how do you modify the? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
The monthly, yeah. If you go scroll down, I broke it up. Okay, so that this is first month. So if you scroll down on the spreadsheet,
because you're doing something else. That's cool.
Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Yeah, almost to the bottom. Okay, so now you see. Yeah, you can, but what I did also is if you put a cost in outsourcing cost in there for month in column G.
Right. Right. And
right there for the monthly.
Rusty, how do
Okay.
is there a way to identify
Now,
the
the reason
difference
I did
between like
that,
SEO?
okay,
Some
is
people charge a
because
lot more on month one
the
as a setup to the client
SEO
versus
basic
ongoing monthly.
month
Is there a way
2
to
plus
distinguish between that?
is a different cost than the initial. But if there are some of them that your initial cost, your monthly cost is exactly the same as your monthly cost all the way through. So then I included that side by side. So I distinguished so
First
that
month. So is it at the very bottom?
then essentially sit there and say, well, hey, what if I want to do the monthly
Okay.
cost?
And I mean,
but
maybe
give them
someone
the
could
first
rearrange
month
the sheet and
free,
put them right
now
next to
you
each
can go
other.
down to your monthly cost. You can put your internal cost, divide your initial cost, by X, and put that into your internal cost for the monthly thing, and then offer them the free month, the initial setup, but it's then built into your thing. Put your discount in and do the discount up front, and then you're all covered. See how that works? Yeah.
Okay. And
Yeah, and there's room at the very, very bottom too, Paul.
so Rusty, I'll have to hop back in to wrap this up, but let me just summarize this sheet for people. What this allows you to do is go in and document your outsourcing cost on this. And Rusty didn't put in all of the data on outsourcing costs because you can do that on your own accord. Yep. But then also if you have your own services on the site or somewhere else, you can put those costs in, right? If you want to document your Right, and if you want to document your internal costs, because you have other things to take into consideration when you sell a service, such as your own time or your secretary's time or whatever else, yeah. And then what you can do is go in and choose your profit margin on them. If you have referral partners that you need to give a certain percent of the money to, or a discount that you put in, it's an auto calculator, and it's a really nice tool, and it's something that's nice for you to keep your house keeping with pricing in. Rusty, the only thing that I'm wondering if you'll be able to add into this for people is, can you allow them to see a 6-month calculator on it? It's just a column addition on 6-month rate versus
it's only $45.
It's you have the ability to do that?
Every time you change something,
okay, because that's what we went over. So Rusty, if you could do this, can you because I think a lot of people are interested in this. Can you create a video tutorial of the sheet, so we don't have time to go through the whole thing, and maybe you can upload it to YouTube and put a private link on that so that people could, if they did avail of this spreadsheet. Already ahead of me. Okay, so everyone, this spreadsheet comes with a video
and also
tutorial.
In the package there is there's sales training, there's questions to ask that go along exactly and how to value yourself with everything that you talked on the webinar today.
And everyone, this has all the formulas and all the formulas that are already built into it, so it just saves you the time. Rusty, how much do you charge for this sheet?
What's that?
45 bucks.
There's training. Yeah.
All right, so you'll give them a video and they can. Okay, Rusty, what's your email address?
Sales collateral comes with it too. Yep. and the sales collateral will match your. The sales collateral will match your presentation for today also. Amazingly. It's value pricing and how to value yourself and offer things. It gives you questions to ask so that you can know exactly where.
Okay, cool. And Delilah's saying, is there training for
value? It's sales
Delilah's
training,
asking
sales
if there's training for your software. It's not software. This is just an Excel spreadsheet,
exactly what you just
but it does come with a video that Rusty put together. So, Rusty, I appreciate you being on. For those of you, go ahead. Ah, that's right. Sales. Oh, does it? Oh, that's pretty cool. Okay. Well, and people can get in touch with Rusty and
Hey, buddy. No problem.
What's that sales collateral on?
Okay. Thanks, man. See you.
Yeah. It sounds like sales training. So it's like a sales training. That's interesting. All right, cool. Well, for those of you who want to make your own sheet, you can. If you want to save yourself quite a bit of time, you can put down $45 and hit up Rusty on this. Seems like a pretty good deal. This thing would be a pain in the butt to make with all the calculations. So if you know how to do this, then you probably already have done it. And if you haven't, it's probably worth picking up. Rusty, I appreciate you being on as always. And everyone, you have Rusty's contact information. Thanks, bud. As for everyone else on the line, if people can give me some comments back, we're wrapped up. We're going to go ahead and close this thing up. So I don't have anything else to go over, but I am curious to have your feedback on, how many of you, unless you were on the webinar from, let me get my questions popped out here. Unless you were on the webinar from Monday, how many of you learned something new today, and how many of you plan on working on the pricing presentation that you have between you and your clients?
Ask you what you're doing on
even
September the 5th, mate.
more? Plan to.
Okay.
Great. Getting some good feedback. Pricing is a really big deal, and we still got a lot of people on the line here, so that's great. Most people made it through the entire webinar. Pricing is really, really important. Just keep in mind, don't ever underestimate how to position yourself, your pricing, whether it has to do with clients that are really big, clients that are small, how to position yourself with your perceived value based by just what you're offering. And keep in mind what we went through. I'll do a bullet point reminder to you of what we went through. We went through pricing based on the client's revenue stream, the type of things to take into consideration. Yeah. I'll get to that in a second, but thanks for reminding me. So we went through pricing based on client's revenue stream. We went through pricing, keeping in mind decoy pricing. We went through the Magic 9 study with the 9, which is now maybe the 7, as people are saying. Size matters. Don't think that you need to put your pricing in great, big, bold font, even if it's a sale. Anchoring, which is understanding how whenever you offer, whenever you ask more for a product, the value is perceived as more. And of course, bracketing, which is vital.
5th, isn't it?
And then of course the upfront discounted plans, pay in bulk, get free marketing for your own company, maybe even a free website for your own company, and a discount on services as part of the icebreaker. So this webinar is a really big deal, and hopefully it does everyone a lot of good with their own company, because too many times do I talk to people and they don't know a lot about pricing. When people come to me and ask me how much they should mark up their pricing, I know immediately that you guys haven't done your own education enough to really understand pricing in the business industry as a whole, not just for online marketing services, but it's a global thing. Trevor, what was that date? September, it's actually Thursday, but September the 5th, which is the next webinar, is when me and Trevor are going to have our sales battle. Last time we talked, we were going to do the role play on sales, but we decided to do the pricing instead because we were getting too many inquiries on it, and we decided to motivate people to do the pricing and get through the whole pricing speech, because whenever we do the role plays, so much of it has to do with pricing and presentation. But if we skip the pricing webinar with everyone and just go into the role plays, then we don't isolate out why we're talking about what we're talking about during the role plays. In the webinars and in the webinar archive, we have all of the technical training to all of the services that we have to offer on long extended webinars that's out there. We've covered everything from lead generation tools to pricing and everything and beyond. The only thing really left for us to help you all out with on ongoing monthly training is for you to hear what sales calls sound like, for you to hear what it's like to be an agency pitching a client and what that conversation is like. What's that dialogue like? How does a good salesman for a marketing or design agency respond to getting backed into a corner from a client and asked really awkward questions, such as, why can I trust you? Where's your portfolio? Why don't you know about this? Why are you charging that amount? How does that directly impact me? How much money are you going to make me? How much traffic am I going to get? So I can tell you what to say, but in a role play scenario, you get to hear it, and you get to hear it live. And when you hear it over and over and over again in different scenarios, that's training. We're giving you coaching, really, by doing these webinars, but we want to get into more of the hands-on training, and really the only way that we can really get into that is to start doing role plays. So we want to do role plays, and we do want to, whenever we're doing the role plays going forward, we want to have it as real as possible, but not boring. We don't want people just to tune in to an hour-long call that's just, standard sales call. So what me and Trevor are putting together are sales battles. So what we're going to do is have a battle every single month, and we're going to really do it up. So pretty much Trevor is going to be roasting me and asking me the most difficult questions he can as a client, not just passively acting there, but really roasting me with the best questions that he has, making my life as difficult as possible to try to sell him so that you all can hear what it's like to close on someone. So the battle concept is that I'm supposed to be closing Trevor, and Trevor's the client. And honestly,
from you
probably
in my
don't
life,
know how it's going to go.
I don't
We'll see how
intend
Trevor's
to
mood
start
is. If
now.
I'm able to sell
There are a
Trevor,
few
and he really feels like
grudges
I
that
sold
I
him,
bear,
given his
and
battling that he's going to give back, then he's going to say at the end of the role play that he's going to sign a contract. If he doesn't feel like I won his trust, then he's going to say no. Thus the concept of the battles. So we're going to have a monthly battle, and we're going to put a lot into it, and we're really going to train people on aggressive sales presentation versus a client that's ridiculously difficult to deal with, and how to successfully close them. And my guess is since Trevor is English and pretty easy, that I plan on closing them every month. I do believe I have a flawless record. Trevor, what's your record? I think you typically lose, don't you?
Get your tickets now, guys, because it's going to be.
Yeah, so Trevor doesn't think he's going to buy anything, but I'm definitely going to sell him. I'm going to sell him a website. I'm going to sell him SEO. I'm probably going to close him on a $250,000 a year PPC campaign, and he's not going to see what hit him come this upcoming September 5th. So if you guys have never been to a sales battle, yes, that's right, Mark. Gloves are off. There are no rules. I'm pulling out my skills. I'll be doing my push-ups. I've got a boxing coach. I'm going to crack open the books, and I'm definitely going to bring the closing game to Trevor's front door come September 5th. All right, Trevor. Hopefully you show up. We have some delay on the line here. How do we sign up for that? All right, so everyone has you're on the VIP weekly bi-weekly webinar series. So this is interesting, and I'd like everyone's feedback on that. There's still more than 200 people on the line, even though we're past our time here. But so we have our VIP weekly webinar series, and me and Trevor have actually been talking. Should we continue the bi-weekly VIP webinar series and continue it on things like technical service training, going over new releases in the company? Should we keep those biweekly webinars focused on our services direct and the type of webinars that we have
guys,
been
look
doing?
Out for the, look out for the. We will be doing a video post-fight press conference
take one of those
with
biweekly webinars to do our sales battle? Because I was thinking what we might do is we might take the monthly sales battle, bring it outside of the biweekly VIP webinar series, and just do a separate webinar series for it. That's the sales battle. So we would do both the VIP biweekly webinar series, but we would launch a separate webinar series for the sales battle, which would come in monthly. And of course, we would be doing a post-fight press release conference, of course, and talking about how I won and why Trevor's all beat up and bruised up and licking his wounds emptying his pocketbook, and same story every month. Okay, I'm getting some feedback from people. It's hard to figure out. I'll have to go back through this. I think separate seems more productive. Okay, because really the sales battle is going to be something that we can promote more on our biweekly series and then jump into. But we're going to be putting editing into it, and then what we're going to be looking for every single month based on who has the best feedback during the webinar, we're going to be asking for each month one guest roaster. So each month who has the best feedback, starting from the first one when we have our first battle, whoever's speaking up and asking questions from acting as the client and giving the best roasting, they can give coaching to Trevor. Trevor will step out and recruit you to join his team in training for the next month's battle. And then I'll take on the best roaster and Trevor. That way, what we'll end up doing is getting people from all the agencies that work with us and the people that ask the most difficult questions possible and think they can even beat me up worse than Trevor does, and we'll bring them on and we'll see what they can throw down. And that way, everyone out there is going to be able to hear what it's like to be in a difficult sales situation, and I guarantee you, I doubt you're ever going to run into a client as difficult, as stubborn, as awkward as Trevor. He's a nightmare. But I have no doubt that I'm going to take him out. There's no doubt. All right, everyone. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend coming up, and hopefully a productive Friday, of course. And we'll be advertising out to you through email and probably promoting it on the next VIP biweekly webinar when the battle's going to be, because if it's not on September 5th, Trevor, if we're going to put it on a monthly schedule, then it's not going to be on September 5th because that's the VIP biweekly. So we'll probably come up with a unique date for that. So with that being said, since we're going to come out with a separate webinar series once a month for the sales battle, does anyone have any inputs on what they want us to do on the next biweekly VIP webinar? Jim's saying, why don't you just go ahead and do the first one on September 5th? Because I'd have to create the webinar the same time. And the GoToWebinar is not going to let me schedule two webinars at the exact same time, right? So I can't really launch it legitimately. I have to create a separate webinar series, and I need to put it on a different time frame. Waiting for topics to come in. People are actually asking for us to do it on September 5th. Web design. Okay. I'll tell you what, everyone was really attentive today. I'll send an email out. We'll meet internally and figure out what we're going to do the next one about, and we'll definitely be letting everyone know, and it'll be on the splash message. Okay. So, all right, everyone, we're going to go ahead and sign off. Battle's coming up. It could be September 5th. We'll keep everyone tuned in. Keep an eye out for it. If you don't get the newsletter and you're worried about not getting the newsletter, right? And we do publish splash messages, and if you're not on the webinars, one of the ways to make sure that you stay up to date with our important news is by subscribing to our blog. So if you haven't subscribed to our blog before, make sure that you do that, because we'll also be announcing our sales battles and the blog. So if you haven't if you haven't subscribed to our blog, make sure that you do. And for those people who are talking about Google and the news and stuff, we talk about all of this stuff on our blog. So if you want to get even more involved, you would want to check that out. And on our blog, you can also see a link to, if you want to meet me and Trevor in Denver. Me and Trevor will be in Denver from on Local Summit. I do believe it is from August. Oh boy, October 18th to the 20th. Me and Trevor will be in Denver, so if you want to read about that, you can come to the blog and click on this. We'll be at the Local Summit. I'll be speaking there, and Trevor will be, Trevor is going to be demonstrating the beer bracketing study live in person at Denver. And what you do is you walk up to him and you give him 3 different beer options and you see which one he takes. So a live bracketing study in Denver with Trevor, and I'll be speaking. So you can partake in either of those if you would like to. But again, the local summit in Denver is going to be a big deal. You might want to go to that. You read all about it. There's a lot of other reasons to go to that other than to watch Trevor drink beer and watch me speak. So, all right, everyone. Hopefully you had a great webinar. We'll be on with our next bi-weekly webinar with a great presentation of some sort. We'll figure out what it's going to be, and we'll be keeping you up to date on what we're going to be going over on the battle. So have a wonderful weekend, everyone.